All right, you loyal listeners. Welcome to another episode of Agency Intelligence Podcast, where I give you that real agency intelligence and not the artificial that they try to make you believe out there. This is Cass, and I am here with a friend and also a friend who works with one of the huge partners of Agency Intelligence. It's Veronika P. You loyal listeners know I butcher names, and she's such a friend. I don't want to butcher it. I tried to say it and tried to learn it, and now I've already forgot it. And so she is the head of strategy of a familiar place, LightSpeed Voice / LightSpeed Solutions. And here she is. Veronika, how are you? Please introduce yourself, please.
Well, it's Veronika Perkowski. You know that, you know that.
I know, but it's so hard. I butchered it, and I don't want to do that to you, Veronika.
Um,
So, tell us what do you do there at Lightspeed Voice?
what do I do at Lightspeed Voice? So my role has evolved a little bit. I am focused on AI product strategy right now, as well as partnerships. So really just sitting at the intersection of, market intelligence, customer discovery, talking to our customers, figuring out what they need, bringing that to the product, working with the developers, and then, also looking for partnership opportunities to make our customers' dreams come true.
And you're talking with agents a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you see me at the
Mhm,
shows. That's how we became
mhm.
buds. So I'm always talking to agents. If they ask for something we don't have, I'm always noting it, tracking it. I also head up our user group, our customer council. So we have quarterly meetings, and I get feedback from our customers there. I talk to you all the time. You know that. Always running things
You
by you.
do, you do. And I think Miss Perkowski, I think this is one of the reasons why I think you and I jive a lot, right? Because I'm like, I love agents, I love knowing what they do. And a lot of times when you're talking to people who are at a booth, and it's nothing against them, they're marketing people, they're salespeople. And it's not that they don't know what we do, but they know just what they need to do in order to be their part of the business, right? Like if you're in marketing, hey, what is the agent's pain points? How can we help them? And then how can we show them that we have a solution for them, right? You're a little bit deeper. You do that and you know that stuff, but you're actually on the phone talking. I have gotten numerous phone calls or emails from you where you're like, Jason, hey, we're thinking about developing out this product. How does that look? And obviously, you're not just calling me, you're calling other agents. And I think that's one of the successes of Lightspeed Voice is the fact that they're actually developing products. We were talking about it right before we got on here. Agents, you all loyal listeners, you've all said it before. You do this new piece of technology and you think to yourself, did anybody that actually sits on this side of the desk talk to anybody that sits on this side of the desk when they were making this software or product or wherever it can be? And I think that's what makes it successful is because people like yourself are out there doing that. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. What do you like about agents? What's the greatest thing about agents,
It's
Veronika?
the greatest thing about agents. All right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that I started in insurance myself, considering my first job was filing papers at my parents' agency when I was like 10.
You're a
So
veteran.
I've got insurance in my blood, even though I've really only worked in the space for the past 2 years. But something that surprised me about agents is how interested they are in adopting technology, right? How open they are to
Mm-hmm.
talking to me about these things, how collaborative they are. So that's always really exciting, right?
Mm-hmm.
They want to work with us, get to know us, and help us bring products to the market that are actually helpful to them.
But it goes back to what I said a minute ago. A lot of our companies don't do that, Veronica. A lot of them don't care. They're there to sell a product, and it's like, yeah, hey, oh, what did you need? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll get on that. Like they love talking to you because it's kind of like, wow, this person actually cares and wants to know how we can utilize this. And at the same time, sometimes, I mean, how sexy can it be? We're talking about phone calls. We used to, right? But now we are so much more than just voice.
Exactly, more than
Kind
just
of the
talk.
slogan.
That's the
Yeah.
tagline.
That's the tagline, and it is true. It is true. And boy, where voice is going is unbelievable. I've said it from the very get go that of all the things that agents do on a daily basis, There is no place in the interaction with the human where more data gets lost than on the phone call, right? And I think that's started to be saved now with this thing, what we have, transcriptions. And we'll talk about that. You have Nova, right? You guys are coming out with your new Nova product. What's it called? Nova
Yep,
Pro?
Nova
Is
it's
that what it
live.
is?
It went live earlier this month.
Yes, it's live. It's live. So yes. Um what what can someone expect from Nova Pro that they didn't get with Nova? We got a ton of Lightspeed voice listeners here.
Yeah, so Nova Pro, really exciting launch for us. I worked on the product end to end with, agents involved, like you said.
Mhm.
And so I would say Nova, it's table stakes, right? It's very helpful. It saves the agents a lot of time. You've got the transcription, the summary, the sentiment analysis, all of that pushes to the AMS or CRM. So that's great. With Nova Pro, we're really allowing a lot more customization for the agency owner. So, does this
Okay.
fit my workflows? What I need to see, how I measure success for my team, the information I'm trying to extract based on a certain workflow, um, as well as kind of automating more of those workflows, right? So now it's not just here's the information, it's actually taking that information and being able to do something with it.
Right. Yeah, actually captures some of it, right? Like they can if I and I'm just making this up, but I just know that it does this, but like if I ask this question, I want you to be able to capture that information and give that to me. Do they find that on their dashboard? Does it email them that information? How's that work, Veronica?
Yeah, so I'll dive into the feature you're referring to. We're calling
Okay.
it call queries. And basically, what you do is you set up a workflow. And within that workflow, you can have 20 custom fields, up to 20 custom fields that you decide, right? And it's basically information that once that workflow is assigned to a user, it will extract that information from every single call that that user has. Um, from the transcript, right? So you can put, give me all the names mentioned, addresses, policy types, policy numbers, VIN numbers, and every single call, when you open up the call, the post call modal that comes up when you have Nova or Nova Pro, all of that information will
Mhm.
already be there, as well as some
Hmm,
context. Like
that's
this was the
cool.
address of the customer's son or who's looking for a policy or whatnot. And then the
Mhm.
timestamp that jumps you to the transcript. So basically, you're not digging through transcripts looking for
Right.
an address, a policy number. You just preset it and it will automatically, it's like a template, right?
Wow. Okay. Okay. And I have to admit, she was one of the people that was reviewing this with me, but I mean, that was months ago. I can't remember exactly. And I don't use it because it's just on my phone. I don't really sell policies much anymore. I help the producers sell policies, but I actually had Sophia talking to me about some of the new features the other day. I can't remember what she was talking about. She wasn't talking about this feature, but she was talking about something else. But pretty amazing,
All
pretty
right. Well,
amazing. So you're the head of what?
oh,
Go
no,
ahead.
I was going to say we'll have to have a demo after this and we'll get some workflows set up for your team.
Yeah, well, I mean, they all use it and stuff like that. They were just talking about. I don't use it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like selling an auto policy. I haven't sold an auto policy in 3 years. But I help the agents sell auto policies. Well, not so much auto policies, maybe business auto policies, but that's about it. So you, just so some of the people also listening, so they know that you are an alumni of UCLA. Is that right? Tell me about your
I
education.
sure am. Go Bruins.
Bump, bump, bump. Yep. And you also got your MBA at McCombs?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
went to UCLA for undergrad, was an English major there. Um, God knows you can't do much with that these days. Um, I don't know. Maybe some people can. Um,
Some people can,
some
some
people
people
can.
can.
But no, I was just more interested in the business and technology side of things. So started my career in media strategy, actually working on for tech customers, right? So Intuit,
Mhm.
apartments.com, Esri, did a lot of work there around their, digital advertising, and then decided to go get my MBA at McCombs in Austin, Texas.
and then you did some other things, and then you found your beautiful way there to Venice. Do you live around Venice?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I worked at a business intelligence company doing go-to-market product marketing for them. Then I moved back
That's
to
good.
my hometown of Sarasota, Florida,
Mm,
became
beautiful place.
employee number 5 at an AI startup, right? So, was doing a little bit of everything there from evaluating model outputs to doing demos to investor pitches, right? Also kind
Mhm.
of a head of strategy role there. And then I was like, wow, there's a tech company in my hometown. Who would have known? And now I'm here.
Bam, bam. Yes, Venice is the headquarters out there of Lightspeed Voice. Now, let's talk so that people know you have Lightspeed Voice, which is the tech, which is the phone company, SMS. You guys you're the full gamut of a communications facility. But then you also have Lightspeed Solutions. I always like to say this for my loyal listeners, if you're new, if they're CAS certified, that when anytime you hear that on one of these ads or anything that's playing, if it's CAS certified, that means I use them in my agency. And so Lightspeed Solutions and Lightspeed Voice is CAS certified. So Lightspeed Solutions, though, is cyber protection. They're a full managed facility. They'll manage your, what's that called when they call those
Managed
managed service
services. Yeah.
providers?
MSP.
Yes, that's what it is. That's yeah. I remember the first time I heard that like 5, 6 years ago, this guy was talking about MSP. I'm like, I have no idea. I'm trying to think of what acronym that means for insurance. But they're a managed service provider. For we have over, I don't know, 180, 200 somehow computers for virtual intelligence and different devices. They provide the cyber security for that. They're the MSPs for that, I guess you could say. So once again, CAS certified. I want you to know if they're able to handle that many computers for us, they obviously know what they're doing. And that's a new part of the business that you guys have been doing for like 4 or 5 years, right? Is that right, Veronika? Has it been that
Well,
long?
it's interesting because
Or
it's a new part of the business, but it's also an old part of the business. Brad
right.
first got started before Lightspeed Voice existed as basically doing one-off MSP work, going door to door. You need
Mm-hmm.
help with your computer and IT setup. Obviously, then he built the voice business, which took off. And then once
Mm-hmm.
Lightspeed Voice was in a great place, we were kind of like, let's bring that back because
Go back
we
to the
have the
roots.
expertise in house and it melds perfectly together, right? You've got a lot
It
of data
does.
with voice and just protect all of that as well as all of your other systems in house.
It does, and it does fit very well. And the thing about it is, if I said that if I had 20 Lightspeed users sitting in front of me. And I said to them, like, why do you like Lightspeed Voice? I think that 19 out of 20, maybe 16 out of 20, a very high percentage would all say due to their customer support. I think that that definitely would happen. And I think there's a couple things that a lot of times agents don't understand. And this is, I always like to talk about this whenever I talk with somebody from your company. This is so elementary to why that is true that you have good customer support. And that's because you guys own your own equipment. And people don't understand in the telecommunication business, and I'm not speaking to Veronica, I'm speaking to you, loyal listeners here, that like, I'll just make up a company. Let's say company X who tries to sell you phone service. They're actually buying a block or a section of somebody else's phone service. And then they're almost like, I'm making this very simple for you, but they're like white labeling it and they're putting their name on it. So when you call them and you have a problem, if it's an easy problem, they can fix it. But if it has something to do with that's actually like internal and needs sick, they have to call the people that they bought the service from. And sometimes the person they bought the service from actually bought it from another service. So it's a white labeled. And this is why you go through level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 support. I did not realize this until Brad explained this to me when we were out on his boat smoking cigars in 2015. And that's a lie. He explained it to me at like a Mexican restaurant. We weren't on a boat smoking a cigar, but it sounds a lot better. But Brad didn't have a boat then. He does now. And I got mad at him the other day that he hasn't invited me. But they own their own equipment. That's the difference. They own their own data infrastructure. They own their own data networks. I think I've even heard you say it before, Veronica. Like it's literally like Brad's code in a simple word, right? Am I saying that right? It's like Brad's his genius is what has literally created this from foundation up. How would I explain that better? Am I right?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
Wrong?
I think you explained it perfectly, right? We have
Okay.
everything in-house, both on the phone side, the software side, all of our developers are in-house, so we can
Hmm.
fix things quickly, and sometimes when there are these major outages, we're not affected from the underlying providers, because it's all our
Hmm.
own.
And I think that also helps with integrations, right? A lot of companies can't integrate, and you get mad at them that they won't integrate with you, but it's not their system. They can't integrate because they're on somebody else's system. You guys, you own the system. So if it's a good integration that's going to be valuable to agents and many people are wanting it, it's an option that you guys can do because you own the system. It's your system. And I think and if you're an agent and you don't know that, it's okay you don't know that. You're not in the telecommunications business. But it's one of those things that when you sit around and Brad is a good friend of mine. Him and I have had more than enough talks. I mean, just an unbelievable time. I've been with him since 2015. And I remember I had been with like three other companies before that. And it was just absolutely terrible. And one of the main competitors that you have that we call RC out there, then if I got 20 of their users and people that are even with them still, okay, and I got 20 of them, like I got 20 over here of Lightspeed. I got the 20 of the RCs over there. And I said, tell me what you don't like about this company. It would be the same exact ratio and the same exact answer as to why people do love Lightspeed Voice. I mean, it's the number one thing when it comes out with RC about why people don't like them. And I'm not here to down them. I mean, each to their own. There's some people that probably have a great experience. There's some people that probably been with Lightspeed Voice. They're like, no, I didn't like that experience. To each their own. But I know overwhelmingly, I hear it absolutely all the time, all the time. And you see it in the groups. I see when people mention your guys' name versus mention the others' names, and then the waterfall that usually occurs there. So must feel good to know that you're working for a company like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we see it every day in the office. People just genuinely care. We all care about our customers. We care about forming that relationship with them and helping their business grow. And that's why all of our products and the way we approach service is centered around them.
Hmm. Yeah. Is that something that's really like beat into your guys' head when you guys like first seriously, like when you first start there? Are they like, hey, we're known for customer service. That's the exception. That's the rule that we have here. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's brainwashed, but
Uh
but yes, right? Like that's a standard that we have set. It's a high standard, and I think it's something that at least on the sports side is looked into in terms of hiring, right? Is this person going to provide the level of service that is expected from our company?
when you're thinking strategy and you're thinking about the future, where do you see all of this like I mean, how do phones become sexy in a different way than they are right now, right? Like how do they become like what is there things that you see down the line maybe? And maybe you don't. I'm just throwing things out there that you see that phones will be used this way in 5 or 10 years or whatever. And loyal listeners, I'm throwing her out this question here that I didn't have her planned, so I'm just curious. But I know you very well, and I know that you think very forward thinking. So, any thoughts on that you guys are seeing down the line?
Yeah, I actually have a lot of thoughts about this.
Okay.
I
Bam.
wouldn't attribute these all to Lightspeed. These are Veronica thoughts.
Okay.
But yeah, first of all, I think phone calls are sexy right now because they are still one of the most important data points, especially within insurance.
Mhm.
And you get insights from a phone call that you can't get from anything else, right? Tone, buying signals, objections, stuff like that. You
Right.
can't that's not a data source you can get anywhere else. And that's valuable in terms of phones staying sexy long term. This is what I actually think is going to happen, right? Is
Okay.
Everything's handed over to AI slowly, right? We've got the AI receptionists, the voice agents, we've got all these conversational intelligence tools. Um, I basically think short term, we'll get to a point where it's all robots dealing with the phones and an increase in texting, right? Because you've got this post COVID generation that is terrified of talking on the phone. But
Mhm.
eventually, like
Agree.
all cycles, all of a sudden, talking to a human is going to be novel. So,
I agree.
right? So it's
Mhm.
as soon as
I
everything
do.
is robots, it's gonna be like, "Oh, you know what would be actually such an innovative idea is if we had a human answer the phone."
So true.
So
So
that's
true.
my short-term future and long-term future take, right? Is we're
Mhm.
gonna see the AI increase, but then all of a sudden the human element will come back in some capacity.
Now, let's talk about that. Let's park right here before maybe we start to close this up. So I want us to know real quick when I wanted to set the table here. When we talk about AI assistants answering the phone, what that has nothing to do with any of your phone companies you're with right now. Okay, so like you still have LightSpeed Voice, phone rings, and then the AI assistant picks up. Okay, we're talking about that position of the AI picking up. And I'm going to say it, and you don't have to agree. You can agree. It's up to you. There's no expectation. The AI voice agents that answer the phone today in the insurance industry are absolute garbage. They're absolute garbage. And I've said this online, and I'm going to say it on my own podcast, and I'd say it on any other podcast I'm at. They're garbage. They really, truly are. And agents, if you're listening to this right now and you're saying, oh, Cass is so wrong, no, you have not asked your employee, you have not asked your customers. Like we thought, Veronica, so we started, I don't know, 2024. We would use it just for like lunchtime and for after hours. That's what we were using it for. And we're like, oh yeah, okay. And we really just did what we had to do and all this stuff. Well, something happened. This place called Erie, which Erie Insurance got hit by the cyber attack thing, and this was well known in the insurance industry. And they were closed down for a month and a half. Could you imagine? Like 20 some percent of our book is Erie. And we had clients. I mean, we couldn't even call Erie. Like we didn't, there was no way for us to do business. We couldn't add a vehicle. We couldn't delete a vehicle. We couldn't do anything. And what they would do is as Erie handled it like a champ. Don't get me wrong. I can't even imagine if that was my business and that happened. I mean, whoa. But they would give us these updates every 2 or 3 days. Well, we wanted to get that to our customers ASAP, right? But we've got like 25, 2,700 customers, 25, 27% or whatever of them are Erie. So you can figure up that number. We don't have time to just sit there and just do this. So we thought, okay, well, we'll send out emails. Well, not everybody gets emails, right? We'll send out texts. Not everybody allows us to send them a text because that's something that we have to ask them, right? So it's like, okay, how do we do this? Let's just call them. Well, that doesn't really make much sense. Even if everybody in the office just makes 50 calls, we're still not going to be able to do it all. It's ridiculous. Ah, let's use this AI agent that we have. This is what brought it to us. It took about a day and a half where we had customers calling us saying, please, if you have to tell me something, just call me because this thing that you have me doing is absolutely terrible. And so what we started doing is we started on the weekends whenever we would get calls or during lunchtime. Not only would we call those people back, but my staff had to ask questions about the AI. And we did this for about a month, month and a half. The survey results, Veronica, were so overwhelmingly bad. I mean, it was like literally less than 5% of the people were wanting it. And when I say that, I'm talking 5 out of 100 were like, and they weren't even like, "Oh yeah, I think it's great. It's awesome." We didn't have anybody say that. We had people be like, "Well, I understand you can't always be there, so yeah, I guess so." But we had a lot of people that were like, hey, just let me answer this. Just go back to the answering machine, Cass. And so then we started asking them why. What was the scenario? What happened, right? And I never thought this. I never thought this, and most agents don't. What do we do, Veronica? And just thinking about this, whenever you're going to make a phone call, usually if you're in a room with people in it, you usually say, "Hey, I'm going to make a phone call. Everybody be quiet." Or you get up and you go out of the room and you make the phone call, right? Well, you don't think about the fact that whenever you have somebody, somebody calls and you tell people in the room to be quiet, and then the kid happens to say something. It's not that big of a deal. Well, it is if it's an AI answer you're talking to, because all of a sudden now your kid happens to say, "Hey, mom, can I have some cookies?" And the AI thing hears it and it stops because it thinks you're talking, right? And then it's like, oh wait, and then it starts going again and it starts asking the question. And how we didn't realize it on the inbound, where we found out was on the outbound, because when we started calling these people at Erie, our Erie clients were like, "Hey, listen, I'm picking my kid up from school right now. The kids are in the back seat yelling, and the thing is just cutting out over and
Yeah.
over and over again." And when we started getting into, and I won't keep on with it, but we started getting into all these questions, it became overwhelming. It was literally the worst experience of all of the things that we could possibly do to our clients was that. And I can't believe that there's agents out there that are sitting there like, "Oh, this is how we make all of our outbound calls when we're doing marketing calls." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I talked a lot here because I mean, I had a personal experience. And Veronica, before you talk, the reason why I talk so much about this, I was the one at the agency that was pushing for it.
Yeah.
I was the one when my team was like, "Jason, I don't think people are liking." I'm like, "Oh, those are just a bunch of hillbillies. They'll be fine." No, it was actually the sophisticated people too. They didn't want to talk to it. And what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, don't feel too bad. You don't know until you try. Um, but no, I'm glad you brought this up
Thank you.
because
Makes me
we
feel
are
better.
seeing a lot of demand from our customers for a voice AI agent. And that's one of my big projects right now is trying to bring that to life through Lightspeed Voice, looking to do it through a partner. But like you said, in a lot of cases, the technology might not be there yet. I do think it's
Mhm.
riskier with outbound. I think the market and the technology is improving a lot in terms of inbound and what that voice AI can do. I've also spoken to some of these companies, and I actually, as a consumer, if I was calling in, um, would prefer this, and some of them have recommended this, where it's basically like, "Hey, do you wanna are you okay with talking to an AI?" Or just announcing that it's an AI because they're still a little bit robotic. They'll still have those, choppiness issues. But if it's something basic, then I think it's really helpful. I think there are use cases where it's really helpful too, right? After hours, overflow, maybe gathering some information. But I do think outbound is riskier. And I do think it
Mhm.
has a ways to go before it can operate like a human can, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So like so like there comes this, I don't know what it is, maybe success reward. Like, where is the tipping point? I guess that's what we should call it. Like, if I do something in my agency and 50% of my clients don't like it, do we continue to do that? I don't know, right? Probably not. That would be nerd. Okay. So if I do that same thing and 80% of my clients like it, but 20% don't, is that the tipping point? Right? That's where we have to start thinking about this, because I think there's a lot of people who are saying, "Well, I've talked to 3 or 4 people and they liked it,
Right.
but I don't think you talked to the other 100 that didn't." And maybe in your agency, that's cool. You're willing to lose those people, but I'm telling you, it's not a good situation. Now, it is getting better and it will in the future,
Mhm.
but the reason why it's not now at our level is due to cost. I called AT&T probably 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I don't know how long it was, and I had an AI on, and it was absolutely wonderful. It really was. I could tell it was AI, but first of all, it was very, very like real sounding. But what was amazing is my wife could talk to me while I was doing it, and the thing would still keep talking. And I think what it's called is I was talking to one of my developers. It's called voice delineation.
Okay.
And so it allows it to understand like what my so the first time I say something, it now knows, oh, that's what he sounds like. Anybody else, that's he we can keep talking, right? But my developer also told me that that voice delineation costs a ton right now to be able to utilize. So that's where I'm at with this. It's not that the AI agent, and never at one time did I say that I think that that whole loyal listeners, I'm not saying that using it is bad. I said in the insurance industry today, with the products we have, they're absolutely terrible. Now, I think you will see soon where the products get better, but I also think it's going to be a lot more expensive for a while. So instead of paying $500 or $600 for that voice AI voice receptionist, you may need to pay $1,000 to $1,200, because you have to understand the company is having, and I'm making these prices up. I have no idea. I'm an insurance agent. Okay. I have no idea what the hell that is. But I know that my developers have
Ye
told me in the process that we're looking at that it's extremely expensive for that voice delineation. Hence why AT&T had it, right? But versus why we did not can't have it. So and I got to tell you, like three of the companies that are in the industry, I'm friends with every one of those owners. So and they're probably mad that I'm saying this, but I don't work for them. I'm dedicated to the independent insurance industry, and I want people to have a good scenario. My whole reason why I want agents to market better, the reason why I want us to have better operations, the whether I want us to have good sales practices is because I want the independent agent to be represented to the society in public good. I don't want people to drive by and say, oh, yeah, that's the place where my grandma and grandpa used to get their insurance. Right. And I don't want agents out there thinking that their AI agent is making their customer experience better. It's not in today's world. And I'm telling you, I firmly believe it. One of your competitors just came out with theirs. I listened for 2 months about everybody online talking about how they couldn't wait for this to happen. And now they came out with it about 3 weeks ago, and nothing but they're getting nothing but trash right now inside this. This thing's terrible. This thing's da 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 da. And I'm like, well, what did you think there was going to be? We're all dealing with the same technology, people, other than some of these other things, but no one's going to give it to you away for $2 and it's going to to be good. And you can't even
exactly.
buy a Snickers today for $2, right? But there's Snickers somewhere that cost $2, but they don't taste like a Snickers. All
Exactly. Well,
right,
that's
bad
why
example.
it's taken us a bit to get it to market, right? Because some of these bad ones, they could really hurt agents' businesses, right?
Oh,
They can tell it
yeah.
the wrong thing. We've heard stories where, one of these AI receptionists was like, Jason doesn't work here anymore. And it's like, nope, Jason very much still does work here. And then
Yeah,
not transferring
I've
it,
actually heard some of those.
not transferring
Mhm.
it to the right person. So just got to be
So, Veronica,
careful before launching something like that.
the problem is the process, it's not the product. Okay. And I promise I'm going to get off here. We're way over already, but this is so important. This is really, really important. I can't afford to have somebody sit there and answer the phone and pay them 40, 60, 70, $80,000 a year, and that's all they do is answer the phone. You're right, you can't. But what you can pay somebody 40 to 50, $60,000 is to answer the phone, take the information and route it to the person it needs to go to, and then answer the phone. What we do in our agencies today is what we've done since the 1980s, and it doesn't work anymore, which means somebody picks up the phone. Oh, I need to make an auto change. They intake the information. This is important for everybody to understand. There's only three things, maybe four, that happen in every task: data intake, data entry, if it's a required licensed task, verification, and customer communication. That's it. So if it is a simple auto change, okay, how this should be done is one person intakes the information into a form and routes it to another person, usually a virtual employee, who goes and takes that information, puts it into the system. Once it gets to where they're supposed to issue it, it routes it to a licensed person. A licensed person opens up the screen, just looks at it for 5 seconds, make sure everything's done per the transcript of the way the customer said it, hits submit, routes it back to the virtual employee, who then sends out the ID card, the communication. Here's how much your premium changed and everything. There's three different people that touched that in 4 stages. I don't care what process or what task you have, there's only those 4 stages. Why we have to hire receptionists is because we have the same person doing all of those stages, rather than hiring somebody who makes 40, 50, 60,000, answers the phone, simply records that information into a form, hits it off, and then answers the next one, and then fills out the intake, routes it off, and answers the next one. There's agencies out there doing this, and they're super successful and they're super profitable, and they're not thinking about hiring an AI agent, because the AI agent is the person who should actually be that intake. And that is the deal right there. And so it's going to take a while for us to understand this. And what will really change the game and make this necessary is agentic bots. When we start realizing that we only need to intake the information and then the agentic bot does the rest, and then at the very end, we're sending out the communication, it's then going to start making sense. People aren't going to want AI agents. They're going to say, no, 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 no. I want it to come in. No one want, if you, 80% of this industry does not want an AI agent intaking information from their customers that they're trying to have a relationship with. No, you want a human doing that. You want the AI doing everything else. The way we think right now, we want AI to do an intake and a human to do everything else. No, you don't. No, you don't. And you're going to realize that in the future in the agencies that don't. And I'm sorry I got on my box there, but I think that there's a whole reason why we're thinking this way, and it's just not the right way.
Well,
So,
Jason,
wow,
if that receptionist has Nova Pro, then she doesn't even he or she doesn't even need to take down the information.
that's right.
It'll
Doesn't,
already
because it
be
just
there.
captures it, puts it into the workflow, into the little, what did you guys call that? You said what was it when you
Call
capture
queries, that's where you can,
call
enter your
queries?
fields, yep.
Call queries. Call queries. Do you guys sit around when you guys are trying to come up with these names, and then you just like put a bunch of name things in the hat and you pull it out, call queries, and that one won? How
You
do you
know what?
do that?
That's funny because there actually was some internal discussion about this specific feature name. So there was a little back and forth on this one. It was originally called information extraction, but
Okay.
we are allowing the admin user to kind of phrase it as a question. So we changed it to call queries. I don't
Okay.
know. But that's
Yeah.
why I feel like I have
No,
to
it's cool. It's
explain it. I
cool.
have to explain that one.
No, and no, it's really cool though, because like as an agent, like we just use products, right? But when you're you and you're making a product, someone has to come up with these names, right? You don't really think about that until you're making the product and you're like, oh shit, what are we gonna call this? You know what I mean? So call
Call
queries.
queries. Yep.
Yes. 10 votes for call queries, 2 for information extraction. Thank you for you developers getting your input. Let's go with call queries, please. But yes, okay. So, anyways. All right, Veronica, anything you want to wrap up with in this wonderful call that we had about this wonderful company with two wonderful people like you and I?
No, I think we covered a lot. And, on our end, we're just going to keep listening to our customers and keep innovating. And if we've got any loyal listeners that are Lightspeed users, Nova Pro is live and you can turn it on in your dashboard in our interface today.
So you listen to your customers so that they can listen to their customers efficiently, right? Oh, back up, Cass.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
that
was
is right.
deep.
I am. Well, I'm needing to eat. And so I think my body has got its last creativity juice coming to the top. Veronica, thank you very much. Thanks for being the head of strategy. Thanks for having to put up with Joel and Brad. That's a full time job. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I can handle them.
So I mean, if you know Brad and Joel, you really have sympathy for her. Okay, you really, really, truly do. But Brad and Joel are two great people. I think Brad has the funniest sense of humor God ever created. He's just an absolute geek. I tell him that all the time, and like the way that he thinks is just like me personally. I love sitting around just talking to the dude because like you can see his gears spinning a lot, and he's actually thinking so he's so smart about things. It's he's a joy to be around. Joel and I were together at the Dallas show, the Hawks Off show. It was awesome. Like I walk in at dinner at like 9:30 and I look over at the bar. He's sitting over there with there's all these people and he's sitting there by himself, right? Just sitting at the bar, just having a little cocktail, 9:30. I go sit down and I'm like, hey, let's hurry up and talk because people are going to start bombarding us. We sat there for 2 hours and not one damn person bothered us. It was so nice. Like I got to know about his wife and we got to actually get into deep conversation. Joel's a great guy. He's a great guy and a great person to have at your business,
He
just like you.
sure is.
So thank you very much. Appreciate everything that you do. I'll probably be seeing you at some shows here pretty soon, and we'll have a cold, refreshing beverage
We
together. Okay.
well, thank you for having me on.
All right. Thank you. Hey, as you know, loyal listeners, I do what I do because I do it for you. Tell me your thoughts and tell me your ideas, and I'm going to tell the world what you have to say. This has been Cass. She's Miss Perkowski, and we are out.